It seems that being a digital nomad is being sold on the internet as the ultimate dream. But the reality can oftentimes be very different. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about what it has been like for me, my experience as a digital nomad in a very starting level business. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about how I got here and where I'm currently living, and just the reality behind the scenes of what you might not be seeing on social media. So my name is Silvana. I'm the founder of the Venusian Academy. Welcome if you're new here, and if you're returning, hello. So I decided to make this vlog kind of like a vlog and make it more conversational, because I got very inspired by my last episode that I had with my friend Melissa. If you haven't watched that, make sure you check that out, where we talked a little bit about entrepreneurship and, you know, business, finding our purpose, all of that. And I realized that I wanted to share more, just because there is a lot of things, like I'm doing my work and this is kind of like the front part of it, but behind the scenes is a very interesting reality. And I became aware this last week that not a lot of people live in the way that I do. And you know, there are some beautiful lessons in this lifestyle. So I decided to become a digital nomad out of necessity. Why? Because I had a very comfortable software sales job, and I was working in the tech industry in Colorado. I had every possible comfort. I had a good work-life balance. I will say, it was more work than life, but overall, for like your typical American way of being, it was pretty balanced. I mean, I try to keep it that way. And then I had a very intense plant medicine ceremony, and I just had this chip within me that made me realize this is not what I want to do, and I need to make the change right now, because there's all this, like, I think like we hide behind life sometimes into, oh, we'll do it when this happens, or we'll do it later, or I'm gonna make this change when I have all these things. And I just realized that if I kept doing that, I was never going to make the shift. So the stars aligned, a lot of things started happening at the same time that kind of paved that door, opened that opportunity for me to do that. So I left Colorado, I moved to Costa Rica, and when I was in Costa Rica, I started my own business. So I had already been working before on the side, doing counseling and doing like spiritual coaching sessions, but I never took it with the same seriousness as I did when I moved to Costa Rica, because I no longer had the income of a comfortable job. So I had to, figure things out, even though I did have a lot of support at the time. So whenever I started into that experience, and I had a lot of changes in my life. I ended a relationship, and there was just a lot of moving pieces where I realized I did not want to be a coach. I wanted to create something different. I didn't really resonate with the word or the title coach at all. And I burned down my business, closed my social media pages, and I just said, like, I'm done with this, and I'm gonna figure something out, something else to do. And during that time, I tried working for a little bit. I could not go back to corporate America. For me, it felt like a very strong no. Based on what I wanted, it almost felt like going backwards, even though it was like the safest thing to do and the most logical, and anybody would tell me, yeah, do that and then do your business on the side. I just knew myself, and the thing about me is that I can't do that. I don't know. I know there's some people who like build a business while they have a full-time job. Amazing. Like, or that are moms and at work and are like, I just don't know how they do it, because I was never able to do that. If I was working, and when I wasn't working, I was just recovering from all the effort and energy. And especially when you're doing something that you're not passionate about, it's like, it takes a toll on you. So I'm like, okay, if I go back into the safety of a job, I'm gonna drop this business. I'm not gonna do it, and I'm going to kill my soul, because that's literally what it feels like to me. So I decided to, keep getting little jobs here and there. And I hated every minute of it because I wasn't doing what I loved, and I was so broke. And I basically, I got rid of all of my safety nets when I did that big move to Costa Rica. I found myself in like, oh my God, what have I done? The fear and the panic of that. So I had some family members help me with like housing and food. Then I had some friends help me with housing and food. And I was just still trying to figure out like, what is it that I want to do? What is this idea that is brewing forward? And who do I want? What's my title? Who do I want to become? And in that exploration, I really got to get very grounded on my why, on my mission, on what I wanted to do. I realized like at the core of myself, I am a teacher. So I wanted to create a business around what I'm able to do, which is being a teacher. And this was the birth of the Venusian Academy. And I have so many ideas of what I want to do with this that go beyond just me teaching. I want to also help other women that like me are teachers and are interested in the divine feminine arts and spirituality and want to share that with the world. So that's all coming soon, still cooking. But I got to a point where I ran out of favors, friends, money, resources, and ideas. And that's when I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what to do because, like right now, life in America is insanely expensive. Like to eat is extremely expensive and you're not even getting proper nourishment from the foods there. And to pay rent, it's like, everything, like when I came back after being gone for, a couple years, I was like, what the hell happened? Everything's just super inflated and, it's not the same now. I see this like that American dream that I had, it definitely got clear and purged and released whenever I left. So I realized that number one, I didn't want to be in America anymore. I didn't really resonate with the culture. There was not a place in there that I enjoy living in, and I lived in like 12 places in the United States. And I tried going back to 2 of those places that I like the most. And I'm like, I do not feel like this is where I'm supposed to be, but I also don't know where I'm supposed to be. So hence the digital nomad was born. So then I started thinking, okay, where can I live with the least amount of money, where I can have access to food, where I can have access to transportation, where I don't need a car and I can like move through taxis, Ubers, or walking. Where is it safe, and where can I be comfortable so I can teach and make videos and make content and do all these things. So my first oops sorry guys. Okay. My first impulse was going back to Colombia. I'm originally Colombian. And I was like, okay, Colombia, dollar's cheap and let's go. That's the plan. But before that, I was staying with a friend in Colorado, and we talked, and she said like, yeah, like make your plan, go for it. And it was like, there was like a weird gap where I couldn't leave yet, but I had to leave Colorado. And then my beautiful childhood friend invited me to spend the holidays with her. So I went to Mexico City. And when I was in Mexico City, I met this group of super cool Argentinians, and they were asking me, what were you gonna do after Mexico? So I'm like, well, I'm trying to go to Colombia because, I wanna live there. Like the dollar there gets really stretched out. And then they started talking to me about Argentina and everything that was going on in Argentina. So we decided to play a little game. And they say, well, since you cannot make a decision because you have all these pros and cons and there's all this fear around the decision, why don't we write down in these little bottle caps like a C for Colombia and an A for Argentina and just randomly pick? And I was like, okay, but when I pick, I'm going to commit to picking. Like I'm going to commit to the place where I'm at, because at this point it's like I'm just gambling with life. Like it doesn't matter where I go. There's this like unstable, not knowing what to do next, not knowing when my next client or my next course is gonna sell, just the instability of it all, and being drowned in American debt and student loans and all of that it's like I got to a point where there was nothing I could really lose, and I just had to take a leap of faith and see what happens. So in that whole game, I picked the bottle cap with the A, and I was like, all right, let's go to Argentina. So here I am in Argentina, and it is amazing. So I do want to address like the, what is it called, the gentrification issue of, you know, of like the digital nomads bring into different places, because it is true, whenever you have places that are cheap compared to, you know, whenever you're looking at euros, dollars, and you have all these places where the money stretches out, you have a wave of digital nomads that go in, and then the inflation goes up in that place, and then the actual locals cannot live there, and it's a big problem. Okay, so I am aware of it, and at the same time I am taking advantage of that, of the fact that, you know, if you're earning in America and you're spending in some other places in the world, it's just gonna be more affordable, you know. So the dollar crashed here. So there was a thing that happened with the government. I don't really know the details of it, but what I was told was that there was a change of regimen of the government, and that brought up a big drop of the dollar. So the money got devalued here, and basically inflation got crazy, to a point where when I first got to Argentina, I went to just exchange $100, and I got a pack this thick of bills. But you go to any place, and to get, you know, it's like you need a bunch of bills to pay for a coffee. And so like the inflation, it's like I'm getting to see for the very first time in my life, like what, for example, happened in my country after like the whole, you know, drug lord problem, cartels happened in Colombia back in the 90s, when the inflation went crazy there. I was born whenever that was already happening, so I didn't get to interact with money during that time. So I'm getting to see kind of what happens in, you know, economically, whenever a country's money gets devalued so much, and that prices just go up so high for the people that are here, and how everything starts regulating itself. So it's been interesting. I don't know much about economics or, you know, any of that, but this is just like first-hand observation from somebody that's here, seeing it, observing it. But the beautiful thing is that I am in what I think is like the best of both worlds, because there's a lot of European architecture. There's a lot of Spanish, French, Italian influence here in Buenos Aires. So there is a lot of history when it comes to, you know, just the way the roads are. It has, some places have a colonial feel, but then you also have very modern places. So it's a good mix of both. But it's summer over here. So in Colorado, it was snowing when I left, and it's summer here. So for me, that was a very big plus to being able to do this, and to be able to afford a place on my own while I'm building my business, while I'm following my dream. So I'm gonna cover like the negatives in a little bit, but first I do want to share about, you know, like following your dreams and having the courage to do it, especially as a woman, and especially as a non-Caucasian or American or European woman, because there is a difference. There is a very big difference that I've noticed, just because I have never met, except one woman, but I've never met, with one exception, another woman that was doing this or was living as a lifestyle like this that was not American, Australian, European. So for me, there was a lot of like mental blockages that I had to get through to be able to take the leap of faith. What are those mental blockages? Well, you know, this is a very real thing that doesn't really get talked about because it's not really understood. But there is a collective trauma on like that colonialism wound of that gets inflicted upon societies, cultures, and then in families, and then personal trauma. So it's like a very big monster that we don't see because it's so immersed in the history of the world. But one of the biggest things that I had to get through is just like allowing myself to perceive my ability to earn the same as somebody that was born in the first world, and that, you know, wasn't the help or the workers or the employees or like the lower class of that. It's almost like before I started doing, you know, taking the actions, I had to do a lot of inner work around that. First of all, the fact that I am a woman, and in many places in the world it is not appropriate for a woman to be traveling alone. So I've also learned how to take care of myself, how to protect myself, both physically and mentally, and choosing the right locations. You know, in Costa Rica I learned a very valuable lesson, which is this lifestyle of like, okay, I'm gonna go just live in the jungle and be one with nature. That's great whenever you have a partner, whenever you have friends, whenever you're with other people. But as a woman alone, I didn't feel safe, even though nothing really happened. There was just this like primal instinct in me that was always activated and triggered. So that's why I started choosing places that were cities, because yes, even though I would love to live in nature, there is a fear that I have around it, doing it alone, especially if like people find out that you are alone. And you know, like, there's everything in the world. There's very beautiful people and there's also very dark people, so you have to be responsible with that as well, and move wisely and move carefully throughout the world. So you know, I think that's like a big thing that I wanted to share whenever it comes to like taking the leap of faith into doing this. Now, the leap of faith, what is that? For me, that's like a combination of unconditional faith in life, belief in myself and my dreams, and a little bit of delusion. And I think those three elements are what allow me to commit to a life where, yeah, let me just, you know, leave the safety of what has been, leave America and go explore these other places that I never been to, and try to build my business and my dream from wherever I'm able to. So I don't know where I'm gonna be next month. Hopefully I can still be here. I'm really enjoying my time here. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see a little blog about like Argentina, like Buenos Aires in general. I don't think I'm gonna leave the city for a while, so for now just city information. But I wanted to share, because what has happened here is that every time that I make a new friend and I'm telling her, you know, about like, you know, what I do or how I live or everything, there's this sense of like, what? Like a shock and almost a feeling of like, what I've been told is like, oh my God, I wish I can do that. And I'm like, I know it's hard, because you have to figure out how to make money, and if you're not in the American economy already, then it's nearly impossible. You know, this is a luxury that I have thanks to my family that migrated to the United States. If I was in Colombia, this wouldn't be an option for me. I would have to stay there, build it there, and then figure out how to like earn dollars to do this. So I'm learning to navigate, you know, the gratitude for what I have, and at the same time pursuing this dream of independence, and this dream of, you know, wanting to build and wanting to create a different life for myself. And there's a lot of things that, you know, that are not really on the forefront. Like, it sounds super adventurous, but there's the element of, you know, I don't have any friends here, and everybody that I'm meeting is a new person. So you have to be a certain type of personality and have a certain character to be able to navigate life like this, and to be able to have the initiative of meeting people and the initiative of knowing where to go and how to connect, and at the same time being completely okay with the solitude, without stepping into loneliness, because there's a difference between loneliness and solitude, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. Loneliness is it's an emotional disconnection from, you know, from life. But solitude is a very beautiful thing, and I've mastered that, being in that energy, before I was able to take this leap of faith and go. And you know, it's like there's the glamour of it, but then there is the everyday chop wood, carry water type of thing. On Are you able to keep your routines even though there's so much movement, you know? And the pain of instability, the pain of not having like your own place to go back to. So it's like, it's a dance between freedom and stability. And which one do you desire most? In my case, I learned how to create stability under a system, under an economic system, being an employee, being a worker. And now I am taking the risk of creating freedom for myself. And everything comes at a price, because stability comes at the price, at the expense of freedom. And freedom comes at the expense of stability. So I also have the luxury of doing this because I don't really have any kids, cats, dogs, children. It's just me. I just have to respond for myself. So this isn't something that just anybody can do, pick up and go, but I wanted to share a little bit about my journey to document it and to, you know, give you some insight on it. This is just kind of like scratching the surface of it. I would love to hear from you. So let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, if you would like to hear more about like this way of living, this lifestyle. And make sure to check the description box below for my free offerings and for my new course, the Picky Girl Tantric Shortcut to True Love, which is a course based on Tantra to finding true love by falling in love with yourself first and learning all the tantric techniques to make your aura the shape of your desires. It is a very deep course. I know like the concept of like, okay, just finding true love feels very externalized. But this is a journey within towards our deepest desires. So make sure you check that out below. Enrollment is open until January 11th. After that, it will be closed. I don't know if I'll reopen it. It depends on how the course goes. But check that out. And I will see you guys next time.